Good morning, I'm back. So, what are we doing? I killed the turbo on the 180 the night before I left to go back to Australia. So I have come back with a bunch of goodies from Golby's and we got some spicy things. Gonna move some cars around, move Bridget's car out of here. Move my car out of here into the other shed, jack the front up so we can start yanking the turbo apart. Turbo side apart. Have since put a new steering wheel on this thing. Bought my NRG Boss back from Australia and picked up a cheap Nardi deep corn on Yahoo Japan. Let's hear how dead this turbo is. Oh, I forgot that I need a clutch. Oh, you're joking. Let's try this again. Oh. All right. These are the goodies I bought back from Australia. Massive thank you to Golby's Parts for getting this sorted for me. 6 boost high mount V-band mani, Turbo Smart 45mm gate, and then I had a G3770 that I swapped one of my friends for a G25660. I would have liked a 25550, but beggars can't be choosers. So this is the new setup that's going on the car, and I cannot wait to have this on and tuned. My S15 had a G25550 on it, and it sounded probably the best I have ever heard an SR sound, in my opinion. I'll put a clip here so you can hear it. Yes, this is the new setup. Cannot wait. Keen as a bean. So this is what we're looking at the moment. That is DED. Let's start yanking it off. All right, just got the intercooler pipe off and the intake pipe. I've just undone the two 14mm nuts on each end of the manifold. All these nuts, if it's factory, are 14mm. The two between the second and the third runner down the bottom are the hardest ones to get to. This isn't a tutorial, but I figure I'll give you guys as much information as I can as I go. Just draining the radiator now because I've got to take off this water line. Thankfully this has an S14 water neck on it, so I can undo it from there. If it doesn't have an S14 water neck, the line will run behind the motor and you'll have to undo a little clamp behind there, which is super annoying to get to. But for me, I can just undo this one, and then there's one just under that second runner about there, as well as the oil fitting, which I'm a little bit worried to take off because I did glue that one in there, if you guys remember. Let's keep going. All right, all off, all out. That's not ideal. Okay, so looking at my studs, they're all going to be way too long. Thankfully, when Golby sends you out a 6 boost, it'll come with a whole bunch of studs. So I'm going to yank all these out and put all these in. All right, so the manifold studs are in. We'll sit this on just so we can actually look at it. Then we'll have to position the wastegate, take the manifold off, weld the wastegate, and then we can put the mani back on for good. And then we can start putting the turbo on and the lines, and then we'll have to make a dump, intake and intercooler pipe for this side. That looks better. I don't have a clamp on the bottom, so that's how it's sitting. So I do have a tight 90 for the bottom of that I'm going to weld on. I'll probably actually cut the front of the housing off right down the bottom there and weld that 90 on so that it can just come straight out. Cool. All right, run into an issue. Because I got this second hand, I do not have the V-band clamp for this. I do have the clamp for the rear housing, but I don't have the V-band for that either. So I need a clamp for this and a V-band for that. See who we can message to get it here as soon as possible. Alright, so predicament is I don't have that turbo inlet clamp, and I don't have the turbo outlet V-band, and he's got me in contact with GCG Japan. I've just gotten off the phone with Daniel from there. He was a massive help. He's like, yeah, we have them in stock. Shoot me through your email, I'll shoot you through an invoice, and we'll send them straight down. So that happened really quick. He said they have stock there in Japan, in Chiba, which is just near Tokyo. So I suppose we'll see how quick he can get here. But in the meantime, my car is beached because I can't drive it. So yes, hopefully it gets here tomorrow or the next day. All right. Suppose we'll go eat some lunch, even though it's 4 in the afternoon. Geordie's here. Food. All right, guys, if you're ever in Japan and you want some steak, this is where you go. It's like a steak bowl. Let me show you guys what we're dealing with here. It's like actual steak. I didn't have obviously any actual steak for quite some time whilst I was here, but this is the goods. Hello. So it's 2 days later because I obviously had to order those clamps. The clamps just rocked up, stockhead, and I was like sick. So I'll mark where I want to weld the wastegate flange on, and then I was like sick. Yeah, I forgot I don't have a welding bench, so I have gone out and bought some steel. And I'm going to work out in here where I need to build a bench. I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking shelf there because all the power points are here. I can power things. And then maybe bench next to it. That's my thoughts anyway. Alright. I'm not going to film this, but we'll come back after we've done that. And then we can put that on the bench. And then we can weld that. And we can put that back on the car. And then we can take the front housing off the turbo, wherever that is, somewhere. Where is it? Oh my gosh, turbo's gone. There it is. Take that off, weld a 90 onto it. Where's the 90? It's not in here. No, it is in here somewhere. I don't know where it is. Somewhere, but anyway, weld a 90 on the front of the turbo housing, and then we can make a hot side intercooler pipe, a intake, a scrummer, and a dump pip to go in there also. Alright, let's make a bench. Hello. It's now 3 days after the clamp and V-band scenario. My ADHD took over with building a bench, and I over-engineered the shit out of it, and now it's the coolest bench ever. So, that's what we're working with. There's the new bench. It's got shelving for these. They slide in there and stop, and then you can lift them up and out. 3 of those, and then I'm going to put a little end plate on the end here so I can slide my grinder in there. However, I did just order a couple of grinder sort of hangers, so I can actually hang both my grinders sort of off the end there. Yeah, fridge fits under there good. That's all rubbish, disregard that, that's all got to go. And then I got another shelf, assembled that, and now I've got a little charging station happening here for all my batteries and all my power tools. So, and then I'm going to put all the fab stuff up here, but I've decided I want to make like a little sort of like stand for all of my different grinding discs. So I'm probably going to maybe put that on the wall so I can be like, you know, organized. But I should probably get into this car. So let's get this manifold off. Let's weld the wastegate V-band on there, and then let's get it back on, bolt it on, because then it can stay on. Let's mount the turbo, modify the front housing, and that's probably all I'll get up to tonight. All right, just prepped up the manual. Weld this Johnny on there. Drag the MIG in here, the TIG in here, drag the bottle in here. New bench, showed you the new bench. It's a new bench, nice bench. Yep, okay, cool. All right, it's the next day because my helmet died. Tried to put new batteries in it, still dead. Bought a new helmet from Amazon. It rocked up today. Looks pretty cool. Just finished welding the wastegate position on the mani. As you can see, not bad. Try not burn myself. Not bad. let that cool down, chuck it on the car, then it doesn't need to come back off again. Alright, Manny's back on. This is how it's looking. Just got to put all the nuts on, and then that can stay on. Then we'll sit the turbo on the top, put the clamp onto it, work out where the front housing needs to be, and then we'll take the front housing off, chuck it on the bench, then I'm going to have a shower, then Bridget and I are going to go have a...
massage!
What do you think, Geordie?
That's not what I'm here for. That is not what I'm here for.
Alright, manifold's on. Best part about these studs, look how short they are. Sick. Every time I've put other manifolds on, they haven't provided studs, and you need to cut the studs down, but usually like a runner, like kind of like goes over the top, so it's like really hard to get the bolt on. Every single one of these was mint. So, stoked. Let's get this turbo on. Voila. Stockhead. Now we're going to have to cut the front of the turbo off and add a little 90-degree bendy boy. And then we'll put we're going to change the springs in the Wastegate. So it's like 15 pound roughly. And then we'll make a scrammer and a dump pip. And then an intake. And then an interbully pipe. Alright, it's back in the shop again. It's been a fair few days because I've been working on getting Bridget's car fixed. But back in the shop now. I last time put the manifold on, welded the wastegate position, so we can actually put the gate on now if we wanted to, and then that doesn't need to come off also. But what I'm going to do is take the front housing off the turbo now and weld this 90-degree onto it. That way we're kind of ready to do intercooler pipe and intake, and then we'll do dump, screamer and turbo lines, and we will be done. Let's keep going. Alright, just got the front housing off. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually cut this on this rib just here, and then that way this will kind of position itself roughly there. So I'll cut that off, stick that back on the car, then we'll mark where this needs to aim, and then yeah, we'll weld it on. Alright, so I got that far around with the grinder, so now I'm having to finish it off with the air saw. I haven't actually cut one of these by hand in such a long time because at my shop in Australia I've got a bandsaw and I just sit them in the bandsaw and it cuts it off perfect. So yeah, I was like, oh, I've only got a small grinder, and yeah, it's what I'm dealing with. At least I'm starting to get a little bit more organized here, because before this was set up I was doing this shit on the ground, so starting to feel a little bit more organized and tooling is getting up to scratch, so hopefully we can just keep upgrading until the point where this is fully functioning like the last shop. Let's keep cutting. Good to go. So I've just cleaned up the end of that, and now I'm going to put this back on the car, mark this to that, then yank it back off and we'll weld it out. Alright, give you guys an idea of what this looks like. Push this housing on to make sure it's not going to fall off. Ah, it's a bit annoying. I've turned the camera on, it's facing the wrong way. But that's what we're aiming for. Alright, let's weld it. Alright, all done. Semi-stoked with how that's come out. Needed to stuff in my balance settings a little bit. I had that set a little bit odd on the welder, so brought up the balance to get that a little bit cleaner. So that's ready to go now. I can chuck it on the car and then start making up this side intercooler pipe and the intake. I don't really like the size of the 3-inch inlet on there, so I might actually put a reducer to 3.5 to 3-inch and run a 3.5-inch intake so it looks a bit chunkier. But we'll see how we go, because that will affect the dosage, and the dosage is the main element of what we want. Who cares about how the turbo performs? It needs to dose. But I do need to cut up a whole bunch of pie cuts to do that. So the drop saw will be getting a workout shortly. I don't have a bandsaw anymore, unfortunately. I am looking at purchasing one, but yes, still setting life up here. Super excited to actually use these. These are a new product. They're KO Quick Bungs. and it's a full purge bung set. So all your sizes are in here. There's your you can actually put either side on either side of the pipe you're welding or the material you're welding, and you can connect your gas up to either side of that. So super keen to use these and get this intercooler piping all really tidy. So yes, let's get this on the car and let's keep going. All right, it's all bolted on now. This is what we're looking at. So I'm going to come kind of straight forward and then a kind of basically a 90 straight down there, and then we'll go back to the cooler and do a 90 into the intercooler. So a few pies to go. So I'll need a 2.5 inch to 2 inch reducer. I'll keep this side 2.5 inch, and then I will speak to Satoshi from Diversion and see if he wants me to keep that side 2.5 inch or if he wants me to go 3 over there. I have honestly never really looked into like cooler piping size and like actually in depth of the efficiency of it all. I have looked lots into throttle body sizes, and you basically want to keep that thing as small as possible. Well, not as small as possible, but yeah. People go put 4-inch throttle bodies on stuff, and that actually reduces how the intake will ram air into it off boost. So you want to keep that nice and small or close enough to factory size, unless you're wanting to make some serious horsepower. But I think I watched a video on someone making like 800 or 900 horsepower, and it was like a 68mm throttle body. So yes, don't quote me on those exact numbers, but that is the information I know. However, the intercooler piping, yeah, obviously I would never go bigger than 3-inch, but I'll see what Satoshi reckons about making that side 3-inch or just keeping all of it 2.5 inch. But yeah, let's, I mean, the intercooler pipe I'm not super excited to make because so many pie cuts, but I'm like, oh, I could totally put the wastegate on there and make a screamer because it's going to be super easy. But yeah, I may as well get into cutting up some pie cuts, making this cooler pipe, making that intake, and then I can worry about making the screamer and the dump. Yes. All right, I've just started cutting up some pies to get this done. I have also realized that I'm not going to be able to use the turbo lines that I came off my T28. So I've just ordered a bunch of -6 and -4 stuff to get this sorted. So I'm just going to go -6 90 out of each side for the water lines, and then -6 into the block. And then for that oil line, it'll just come a -4 out of the block and then to a 90 right on the top there. Massive thank you to Satoshi. He had a reducer for me. I could not find one of those that was going to get here soon enough. And install day is not tomorrow, but the next day. So I've got lots to do, finishing this off, also as well as changing the clutch. So yes, big push, lots to do, but that's the way we do it. Let's keep going. Right, so I've just got a 90 cut up now for that first sort of turn down as we go through the tub. This is what they look like once they're cut off a drop saw, and they take forever to clean up. So I need to purchase a bandsaw here so I can absolutely minimize this cleaning, because this process takes forever, and I'm sitting here with earmuffs on and a glove in my hand because of how hot it gets once you're grinding all this up to make it clean. So yes, bandsaw needs to come so I can sort this out and be efficient. Let's grind these up. All right, that's our pies ready to go for that first 90. I usually like to make the intercooler pipe in like one whole piece, but I'm going to try something different with this. I'm going to experiment with it with my own car. That's why I've actually cut this a little bit longer. So there's a 10 degree on there and a 0 on the end. And I'm going to actually bead roll the end of this and make the intercooler pipe 2 pieces. Just to see how that feels and see how it looks. I'm not sure if I'll continue to do this, but yeah. I'm going to try it on my car and I'll let you guys know how that turns out. Alright, so I've just cut a straight with a 10° on that to give a little bit of angle to there. This was a little bit bent. Must have been when I stacked the car, I'd pushed that back. So I flattened all the tub down. I would actually eventually like to cut these out and put like tubs in it, but it's not a priority at the moment. When I do that, I will clean up all the wiring in the bay and sort of delete everything in the bay, but for the time being I'm just keen to drive. So I've just cut a 25 centimeter straight, measured that out, and then I've got my 90 over there as well. So what I'm going to do is tack that straight to the 90 and then sit that in here, mark it on there, and then I'll tack it to that, and then I'll bead roll either end and I'll weld the whole thing out. So that's where we're at. Alright, this is what we're looking at. I was going to bead roll either end, and I got my bead roller out, then I was like, oh, I don't have a vise yet. The vise is inside, I haven't had it set up on this bench yet, so I'll have to sort that out at some stage before I bead roll these ends. But for the time being, I will make sure this fits, and then we will weld it out. Alright, this is what we're looking at. Pretty happy with that. Now, I am going to, because I need to drive Mayhan in, not tomorrow but the next day, I'm actually going to just cut that cooler pipe there because it has a reducer on it from 2.5 to 2. So I'm actually going to cut the reducer off and then bead roll that pipe, and then I'm just going to connect that to this one for the time being. I've just forgotten I don't have a new pod, and I was contemplating what size to do the intake, and I'm like 3-inch intakes just for some reason look a bit small for me. Although I've just started to cut some up now for the dump pipe, and I'm like, oh, that might be big enough, but I actually wanted to go sort of 3.5-inch for the intake. But with that front housing being so small, the 3.5-inch might look a little bit too big. So yeah, it's just hard because you kind of go 3-inch out of there to this pod, and the pod's massive, kind of looks all a little bit out of whack. So I've ordered stuff to be able to make a 3.5-inch one, and I've got stuff here to make a 3-inch one. So I'll probably make the 3.5-inch one first because it's the size I want to put on there, see how that looks. And if it just looks a little bit shit, then I'll make a 3-inch one for it. I'm going to cut up some pies now to make this dump pipe. I'll make that connect up to the pre-existing exhaust again because I don't have time. Nor do I really want to be stuffing around underneath the car whilst it's on the ground in here. Really need to get myself a hoist. But to do that, I need to concrete this whole area, and that's going to all just cost money. So yes, in the future, let's make this dump pipe. All right, a couple more pies for the dump. One of these should only be, this one here, straight with a 10 on it. And that's to get the dump pipe actually coming, instead of this, back this way. And then I'll go down. I've got a flexi joiner for it as well, just here. So chuck that in as well. Yeah. Let's keep cutting stuff up. All right, we're all tacked up down to there. So I've just put some mats down so I can lay on the ground, and we'll do a little bend back, and then we'll put the flexi there, and then we'll go to the bottom of where sort of that tapers, and we'll go under, and then we'll start going towards the back of the car where we'll connect it up to the cat. Alright, this is where we're at with the dump, which basically is flush with the floor here. So while that's cooling down, because I've just tacked that, I'm going to put the wastegate on while the dump's out. So just something for people to remember is to make sure you put the seat inside the wastegate. If you don't do that, it will leak. Also be incredibly careful about this heat shield here. I have genuinely cut my thumb open so bad that I needed to go to hospital and get stitches once. Can't really see it, but it doesn't really ever get dirty anymore. There's like a scar there. Just along there. And I did that on a wastegate, so yes, be careful. Let's get this wastegate on. Alright, wastegate is on. So what I'll need to do is put the dump back on, and I will actually finish the dump off first, to connect up to the catalytic converter, and then I will make a screamer. Obviously I'll get the dump on first because this is going to be quite tight where I need to put the screamer. So I want to make sure the dump's on there and in the position it needs to be before I go making more stuff that might hit it if I make this first without having the dump pipe on. So let's get this dump finished and then let's make the screamer. Alright, dump's all tacked up. There's a little bit of a mission getting that flange good because usually when I'm making exhausts, I'm making it from the dump back fresh exhaust. So getting that angle lined up, not being a V-band that you can rotate and having to worry about a 2-bolt flange was a little bit annoying, but got there in the end. Now that's all tucked up and test fit it on, make sure it all fits good. And then I'll get into making the screamer. I'm basically out of gas, so what I'll do is I'll just tack everything up today and then go get gas in the morning and weld everything out tomorrow. Let's get this on the car. Alright, that's me done for the night. Intercooler pipe's done to there. Just made a little intake pipe. That's the 3.5. I think that size is going to look pretty good. But you can see how little baby the turbo looks. So we'll see how that looks once I've got the pod. Thankfully the pod's got multiple sizes like silicon sort of adapters that I can put in it. So if I do want to go to 3, I can just put the adapter back in the pod and make that 3. Dump pipe's fully finished, and then I went to make the screamer and realized I don't have any 45mm stainless here, so I've ordered some off Amazon. It's meant for a bathroom, so we'll see how thick it is. I'd imagine it's probably only 1mm, so that's not going to be ideal, but it will work, and that's all that matters. I really want to do screamer out the front of the side skirt, but I'm not going to have enough time, so I'll just make it go straight down to there, and then I'll modify it later. But yes, made good progress today. It'll be a huge day tomorrow getting everything done, and I still need to put a clutch in it, so we'll see how we go. See how I'm feeling and see how quickly things rock up tomorrow, and then we'll decide roughly tomorrow afternoon if we go on a Mayhem the day after, because I'm over rushing to go to events. So yes. Alright, bedtime. See you in the morning.